My dear friends, a very warm welcome to you. It is wonderful to have you with me to reflect on the Gospel for the 18th Sunday in Ordinary Time. And the Gospel reading is taken from Luke chapter 12 verses 13 to 21. And the theme is, Do not judge by appearance. Father Carl Nguyen SJ, a good friend of mine, told me the story of a man who comes to a drop-in center for the homeless. He would occasionally knock on the door of the priest's house nearby St. Canice's Church in King's Cross, Sydney, to ask for something to eat, a cup of coffee and a sandwich. Father Carl not only gave him what he wanted, but engaged in a conversation with him and got to befriend him very soon. Father Carl shared with him about his work with the Jesuit Refugee Service, the JRS in Australia. This man listened intently to what Father Carl was saying, and the next week, he came knocking on the door of the priest's house looking for Father Carl. Instead of asking for a cup of tea, of coffee, and a sandwich, he gave Father Carl an envelope with a check of $50,000 for the work of the refugees. Father Carl was completely taken by surprise. Later, he learned that this down and out man was from a wealthy family and had fallen out with his family and had chosen to live as a poor beggar. Jesus in our gospel for this week was asked to adjudicate and to be the judge of some family dispute by a man in the crowd. From this unexpected request, Jesus brought up an important teaching on greed. Watch and be on your guard against avarice of any kind, for a man's life is not made secure by what he owns, even when he has more than he needs. Luke chapter 12 verse 15. He then told the parable of a rich man who had a good harvest and asked himself, what am I to do? He started to build bigger barns to store his grains. He complacently concluded that he then had enough security for many good years to come and said to himself or his soul, take things easy, eat and drink, have a good time. But God said to him, fool, this very night the demand will be made for your soul, and this hoard of yours, whose will it be then? Luke chapter 12 verses 19 to 20. We can take away two lessons from this parable. First is, the message is that we do not take away any worldly possession with us when we pass on from this life. Instead, we should be generous to share our wealth and what we have with the poor and needy. By doing so, we make ourselves rich in the sight of God and not in the sight of men. Second, we must be wise and discerning not to judge anyone by appearance alone. It is easy to fall into the trap of seeing one eye big and one eye small, as the literal saying in Chinese, to mean that we have double standards. We may kowtow to a person who appears to be rich and look down on a person who looks like a poor man. Thankfully, Father Carl did not do that. Otherwise, he would not have a generous donation from the rich beggar. As we are celebrating the feast of St. Ignatius this week, we can also learn from him on how to give the best positive interpretation to any misunderstandings in our interactions with others. He wrote in the spiritual exercises, it should be presupposed that every good Christian ought to be more eager to put a good interpretation on a neighbor's statement than to condemn it. Further, if one cannot interpret it favorably, one should ask how the other means it. If the meaning is wrong, one should correct the person with love. Quoting St. Ignatius. I find it so helpful to always give the benefit of the doubt to others when there is a misunderstanding, and when I need to correct someone, to always do so with love, not pride or anger. Indeed, Jesus teaches us to love everyone regardless of their position and status in life. When we do not judge by appearance, we will appear before God with a pure heart, a clear conscience, and hope that God will be merciful to me, a sinner. So my dear friends, with that I have two questions for reflections. The first is, how do I conduct myself when I meet people who appear rich and powerful? And the second is, what is one lesson I take away from this parable? And so with that, I invite you to join me to pray for protection together always with Mother Mary. O Mary, you shine continuously on our journey as a sign of hope and salvation. We entrust ourselves to you, health of the sick, who at the foot of the cross you participated in Jesus' pain with steadfast faith. You, salvation of the Roman people and of the whole world, know what we need, so that we are certain that you will provide, as you did at Cana of Galilee, joy and feasting might return after this moment of trial. Help us, Mother of Divine Love, to conform ourselves to the Father's will and to do what Jesus tells us. He who took on our sufferings upon himself and bore our sorrows to bring us through the cross to the joy of the resurrection. We seek refuge under your protection, O Holy Mother of God. Do not despise our pleas, we who are put to the test, and deliver us from every danger, O glorious and blessed Virgin. Amen. So thank you for joining me on this feast of St. Ignatius, and I wish all of you a very happy feast day of St. Ignatius. God bless you.